Today I'm going to tell a plumbing story. I think we finally have most of our plumbing under control here at the house, but I want to talk about how we eventually made it to this point. If you're thinking of building or remodeling a home in Mexico or anywhere in the world, the plumbing is a fairly important aspect of that project. When we started in October of 2020, of course, we had no idea what we were doing. We hired a plumber slash electrician that was recommended by a friend. And the friend even told us that this guy was nice and affordable, but not the greatest. His words, just capable. He did a lot of handyman jobs for our friend, plumbing, electrical, painting. And I think the rule is that if someone can do everything, they're not really an expert in anything. The first plumber did most of the downstairs unit plumbing remodel. He also did some electrical work for us. He even painted. And all of it was okay. We realized fairly quickly big plumbing and electrical jobs were not his forte. He was affordable and was really nice. But for the heavy lifting, you really want someone that knows what they're doing. He's a good handyman. When he quit, we had paid him about $1,200 in labor, and half the work was incomplete or had to be redone. That may or may not seem like a lot of money, but because we were going through a remodel, we were contracting out for everything as we needed it. Adding some outlets over here, installing a sink, a toilet, shower. We need a job done, and it's going to take a couple days, so the quote is for $150. Based on our experience, a guy with steady employment for one of the major construction or architecture operations here may make 200 to 400 pesos a day, with the foreman getting 500 or 600 pesos a day. All of the guys we hired direct, we would pay 500 pesos per day, and this is what they asked for, and we agreed to. And if we had a guy and he wanted an assistant, he'd want 300 pesos for an assistant to help mix cement or whatever, and we would pay that. A plumber or an electrician may charge 300 pesos for a small job that takes 30 minutes or an hour, and a 2 or 3 day job may cost 3,000 to 6,000 pesos. If you're doing a long-term remodel, it's super difficult to keep a plumber or an electrician at basically a part-time level because, it's understandable, but a plumber isn't going to be on call 24/7 over the course of a year or 15 months in our case for $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 in work. The other option is you can pay a plumber $200 a week to be your full-time employee, but what if the work isn't so great? What if you have 3 or 4 months where you barely have any plumbing work that needs to be done? Will you just keep paying them, every week or $2,500 for that 3 or 4 month period just to keep them happy? Or you can pay a premium and have the architect deal with it. And maybe that's what we should have done. When our first plumber walked out on us after we paid him $450 towards a $1,300 job, we reached out to our network again to find another plumber. This time we took 3 proposals to finish all of the remaining plumbing for the property. We decided on the plumber we felt the most comfortable with. His proposal was great, and we were all in agreement that the project would take at least 6 months. It really was a great relationship the entire time he worked for us. He seemed to know what he was doing, and his mistakes were never too costly for us. He would come in and work a couple days, then disappear for a few weeks, then come back to check on things, do a little more work around the house. Sometimes he'd buy supplies and tell me I needed to pay a bill at the hardware store. And sometimes I'd go with him to the hardware store. Things at the house looked great. We trusted him completely, and it was awesome. He started last March, and every time he asked for money, we paid him, even as the total past the original proposal. In September, he said everything was prepared and that when we were ready, he would return to connect the sinks, showers, and toilets. Also, we needed to build a base on the side of the house for the tank that provides all of the water pressure, and he would move that to its final resting place. We only owed him 3,000 pesos to finish the job, and he said it would take a couple of days to connect everything. In November, when we were ready to finalize everything, I sent the plumber a message. He told me he had a new job that was taking up all his time and he wouldn't be able to come back out. I begged him. I fought with him. I tried to offer him more money. Nothing worked. Finding someone else to finish the work was an absolute mess. The plumber had used Tubo Plus for our pipes, and these pipes are supposedly the best, but they require special tools that only a handful of plumbers have. So Ali was going door to door at hardware stores collecting phone numbers for plumbers. It's mid-December and we need to finish this plumbing work. We found a plumber, Manuel. He'll finish the job. At this time, I'm about to go insane. The clock is ticking. People are arriving the first week of January, and we have no water in the upstairs units. And there are about 84 other things that we need to do. It's the holidays, the most wonderful time of the year. On December 24th, Manuel is finishing the job. It's all coming together, finally. There's a little leak in this pipe outside. We've got a few leaks in the hoses in the garden area. The pipes for one sink need to be replaced, but nothing major. Then he turns the water on. First, no hot water in one shower. Only hot water in all of the toilets. There's a leak somewhere in the wall and water is coming out of the concrete. There's water flooding another bathroom. The only solution is to turn off the water to the entire property. It's Christmas Eve and the plumber is telling me he's about to leave for Acapulco for the next 3 days. Not what you want to hear. It's 1:14 p.m. on Christmas Eve. We thought it was going to be a pretty fun Christmas Eve work day. We'd get a lot done, and one of those big accomplishments was going to be getting the water hooked up to the upstairs units finally, and it turned into a bit of a 911 emergency. So we found a place that sells this valvula. There's two of them, and we're hoping that solves our problem. So otherwise we're not going to have water anywhere for the next 3 days till Monday. Check out this Christmas Eve traffic. I haven't paid the plumber yet his normal fee for hooking up all the water, so he's not going to leave before he gets that payment. So fortunately, Manuel made some phone calls, found a hardware store that was open and had the parts we need. So I was able to buy the shut-off valves 10 minutes before the hardware store closed. The parts cost $30 and the plumber charged $300 for a 2-day project, but at least we had water on Christmas. The next week, Manuel returned from Acapulco and spent several days repairing everything that had been done wrong by our previous plumber. Then Manuel got stumped. We moved the tank that provides the pressure for pushing the water into all the sinks and showers onto that base on the side of the house, but this interrupter part kept going insane, and every 10 minutes it would make all sorts of noise and the lights would flicker, and a few days later the interrupter blew like a fuse and we lost all of our water pressure. So our new plumber gets a new interrupter. He installs it again. He adds a regulator that measures the PSI, but pretty quickly the thing's going nuts again, and 3 days later this interrupter blows also. These interrupters, they're only $35, but I'm not super interested in losing water every 3 days and having to pay $35 for 3 more days of water. And the loud ticking sound it makes is annoying as the lights are flickering. Plus we have guests staying here at this point. We're well into January. So our plumber says he knows someone that will diagnose the problem for $50. The diagnosis guy comes out and immediately says, you have to move the interrupter beside that tank that you moved a few weeks ago. That'll be $50. I was happy to pay him $50 because we now have a solution. The next day, the plumber moved the interrupter. That cost $125 in labor plus another $60 in parts. And spending money to solve a problem is way better than spending money to have the same problem. So it's late January and everything is finally working. Except for one last thing. We're burning through gas really quick. And Allie smells gas in our house near the stove. I don't have a sense of smell, so I have to rely on other people to do these things for me. The plumber, he does some tests, and he says there's no leak. But Allie was adamant, and through her persistence, she was able to pinpoint the leak, and we got it fixed. That was only $20 to repair. Plus, who knows how much gas and brain cells were lost in that month of leakage. Last September, we thought we were done, except for a couple days of work and $150 in labor. We spent almost 2 months from late December to mid-February fixing all of the problems that were left behind at almost $1,500 in additional expenses. It's not an insane amount of money, more than we were expecting to pay, but the stress and the headaches and the moments of helplessness were by far the least enjoyable part. So, what are the lessons? Are there any lessons? It's pretty common that whenever we have a new electrician or a new plumber that would come out, he would say the old guy did an awful job. So who knows? I think sometimes projects can just go sideways. It happens everywhere. This isn't a Mexico thing. The goal is to spell out clearly expectations and try to be fair to everyone, which may mean that 50% of the payment has to be held back until the work is 100% complete. I still like all 3 plumbers that worked here over that 15-month period. The second plumber won't be doing any more work for us, but I think that's fine by him. He does owe me 300 pesos, so maybe if we run into each other, he'll pay me back and I'll buy him a beer. All right, thanks for watching.